All right, should be live now, guys. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. We have, again, only 3 games to talk about today. I think it's 13 tomorrow or something just absurd. But, yeah, I think it's a good slate for tournaments. I probably, in a small slate like this, especially some of these teams on it, I probably wouldn't play cash games. But, yeah, again, I think it's a decent tournament slate. If you guys are new to the live stream or new to the channel, and you enjoy, just make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Also closing in on 11,000 subscribers. But hey guys, so for this live stream, it'll be a Q&A style. So leave questions in the chat. I'll do my best to answer every single question. And let's just take a look, see if we have some Vegas odds up for these games now. So yeah, Nets and Mavs is the first game. It's a 221.5 over under. The Nets are 2-point favorites, so that's the highest total of the 3-game slate. Knicks and Spurs is the lowest, probably because the Spurs or probably because the Knicks are on it, I should say. 210.5 over under. The Knicks 1.5-point favorites, and the Celtics Lakers late night hammer 219 over under. Lakers 4-point favorites. We got the news we were looking for. Obviously, Jaylen Brown is out, Carmelo's in, so really we're only waiting for that Knicks starting lineup. Which from what I've heard, it might be Noel over Mitchell Robinson. But other than that, there's really not much news we're waiting for, which is kind of nice. Don't have to deal with that stress for this slate. But yeah, guys, let's get to some questions. So make sure to leave them in the chat. LeBron with Pirtle or Harden with Rose? Yeah, it's a good question. I'll say the LeBron with Pirtle one. I feel like a little bit. I feel a little bit better about that one. Pirtle's role is pretty secure. Rose is minutes are up and down. Now, if Derrick Rose plays 30+ minutes tonight, I think he's a really good option. But again, his minutes have fluctuated, which makes him a little bit of a riskier play. Joel, what's up, man? My guy DK, let's win this 3-game slate. Let's get it, man. Guaranteed someone gets ejected tonight. Can't have an NBA slate without chaos occurring. I hope not. I really hope there's no ejections. I feel like every single ejection this year has been someone in my lineup. Trey, what's up, man? LeBron and Cantor ejected. Hey, you never know. I'm not sure if Cantor plays. He might. He only played 4 minutes last game against a big Utah team. That was with Robert Williams and Al Horford playing. Last game, Cantor played a lot because Freedom played a lot because you had Robert Williams in foul trouble and Horford was out that game. Pirtle or Aldridge for cash? Yeah, that's a good question. I think both are good options. If I had to pick between the two, I'll say Pirtle, but I think both are good. Can't wait for this next lineup. My guess is it's Noel over Robinson. That's just what I've seen from, I guess he had the blue starter jersey in warm-ups, or not warm-ups, in, what's it called? Shoot-around or whatever. Why did quickly only play 20 minutes last game? You had R.J. Barrett back, so R.J. Barrett missed the previous 2 games, so that was one more body in the rotation. Plus, it's just, like I said, Tom Thibodeau, he's going to go with the hot hand. So there's no one I feel great about in the Knicks, really, outside of Randall. We know Randall's role is pretty secure. Other than that, they're going to go with the hot hand in the closing lineup. So every other Knick has variance outside of Randall. Even if Noel starts, it could be Mitch Robinson closing. With the guards, right? You have no idea who's going to close and who's going to get the minutes. So they're all kind of guys I would sprinkle in for tournaments, but there's no one that I'm looking at the Knicks. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so confident this guy's going to play 35 minutes and close and smash now. Schroeder smash? I think Schroeder looks good because Tibbs goes with the hot hand. Exactly. That's why, right? Quickly only played 20 minutes last game because he was struggling. So this is something, kind of rare to Thibodeau because normally he was a guy that just played his starters massive minutes. That's what historically he's known for, except for this year. This year has changed where he's going with the hot hand. Thoughts on Josh Richardson? I think he's a good value, especially with Jaylen Brown out. I expect mid-20s minutes on the bench. He's not a super productive point-per-minute guy, but at that price point, he doesn't need a ton to get there. Opinions on Bembry and Mills. They're secondary options for me. Mills should play mid-30s minutes. He's pretty reliant in the scoring. Not out of play, but doesn't stand out. And Bembry, he's been playing pretty well of late. I don't necessarily trust it. The minutes have also trended down a bit. 35, then 30, then 27, then 23. So I don't have a good feel on Bembry. Plus, I just don't really trust Steve Nash's rotation outside of the main guys. Samuel, what's up, man? Grant Williams, probably not for me. We have, again, Horford is back. So last game, Grant Williams played more with Horford. Back, he played 33 minutes. He did play 27 last game against the Jazz, but It's Grant Williams. Like, I hate playing this guy. I really do. I'm not going to say he's out of play, but I really don't want to play Grant Williams. Tatum and Randall or Luka and Porzingis. Probably Tatum and Randall, just because I don't necessarily... If I'm playing two guys, two stars from the same team, what I'm doing is I'm just running it back with KD or Harden and hoping that game just turns into a massive shootout. Toppin is a punt, playable. He's really, really cheap. Did play a little bit alongside Randall last game. He played 20 minutes total. He's a decent point per minute guy. I think he's for sure in play. You have 0 players in the first game. Yeah, that's probably a little bit contrarian. So I think the first game's going to get a good amount of ownership. Guys, if you're just coming in again, make sure to hit that like button. We're at about 100 concurrent viewers already. 23 likes. Appreciate all you guys' support. Locking James Johnson for 10 minutes tonight because he's going to be... You think James Johnson's going to be chalk? I don't think he's going to be chalk. And I still don't trust his minutes. I took a shot on James Johnson a couple slates ago, and he played 5 first half minutes or something. This was the game I think I played James Johnson, and he played 5 or 6 first half minutes. I'm like, oh, I'm dead. But luckily, he played a little bit more. He closed the game in the second half. He's not a bad fantasy point per minute guy, but like I said with the Nets, I have 0 trust in Steve Nash's rotation. So, would I be surprised if James Johnson gets a DNP and Bruce Brown plays 30 minutes tonight? No, I wouldn't. Would I be surprised if James Johnson plays 30 minutes tonight and, Bruce Brown gets a DNP or Bembry plays? There's just so many different ways it could go. Yeah, exactly. That was a stressful one yesterday. I know it's no party in the pool. Patty Mills? Yeah, I mean, he's not out of play. He's not out of play. It's just it doesn't really stand out. He can have a ceiling. He just has to hit his shots. So $5K for Patty Mills. It doesn't stand out. I'm not saying you can't get there, but it's not a play that I'm in love with. Last man in, best forward, 4K and under. Let's see. 4K and under. Ugh. Probably one of those Spurs guys, like Lonnie or McDermott. I hate playing Doug McDermott, but he's probably going to play mid-20s minutes. He's super scoring dependent, but he has gone for 20-plus the last 3 games. Him or Lonnie, probably going to feel a little bit better about McDermott's minutes, but yeah, nothing I feel great about for sure. Bembry or Johnson. So, taking price into consideration, it would be Johnson for me. And that's just because, again, Bembry's $1,000 more. Schroeder, Tatum, Randall, Luka, and values. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. LeBron's just a little underpriced. I think him and AD look a little bit too cheap, right? Last, couple weeks, they were all close to 11K. Any priorities in the Mavs with everyone in? No priorities. I think Luka makes for a pretty good spend up. Porzingis is a fine contrarian play. Value, a couple guys are playable. Bruce Brown viable. I have no trust, no faith in his minutes. He did play a lot more last game. That was with James Johnson out though. So you can play him, but don't be surprised if he plays 10 minutes. He could play 25. Like I said, there's just so many different ways the Nets secondary rotation can go, and it's kind of the same thing with the Knicks. And this is why I said it's just not a cash game slate, right? You have too many teams. You have the Nets where it's just you can't trust the rotation outside the main guys. You have the Knicks who are going to go the hot hand. So it's near impossible, I think, to play cash in the slate. Lonnie Walker's a decent value play. Now, you're probably going to get popped if you play Lonnie Walker because every time someone's out, you think Lonnie Walker's going to play more minutes, and he somehow plays less minutes, and they dust off Keita Bates-Diop, or they give minutes to Josh Primo, or Bryn Forbes gets more run. Every single time. Last week it was Vassell and McDermott out, and we all thought Lonnie was going to play more minutes, and he played less minutes. So Lonnie, I think, is the best point per minute guy off the bench of these Spurs. So I think he's the guy that has the most upside, but he could still play 15 minutes tonight, and I would not be surprised. Howard and Rose or Richardson and Barrett. Probably the first one, just because I don't love the price on. I think I like the upside more in Rose than I do Barrett. If Rose plays 35 minutes, he's probably smashing tonight. If RJ Barrett plays 35 minutes, he could still go for like 25 fantasy points, right? So I think the upside is higher in that first one if Rose gets more run. Josh Richardson or Lonnie Walker, it's pretty much a toss-up. I think I feel a little bit better about Josh Richardson's minutes than I do Lonnie Walker's. I think Richardson plays 25 minutes. Lonnie could play 15, could play 30. I don't know, right? And can you play Keldon Johnson, Lonnie, and Pirtle in one lineup? I think it's doable. It's not something I'm excited about, but I think you can play three in there. Who's your favorite value under 4K for small forward? Yes, there's not a lot under 4K. So I don't really trust Bruce Brown's minutes. I guess it's Lonnie Walker or Toppin probably. And I guess the upside is a little bit higher on Lonnie Walker if he gets the minutes. Let's see. Murray, Schroeder, Smart, Brunson, Barrett, Walker. Wait. Oh, Lonnie Walker. I was thinking Kemba Walker. And don't play Kemba Walker. Johnson. It's very contrarian lineup. It's like DeJounte Murray's going to be low owned. I don't think Brunson or Barrett get much ownership. I don't hate it. I think DeJounte Murray's a nice pivot off some of those guys at the top. Like if you're building a chalky lineup, you can get to a guy like Murray, who I think comes in at one of the lower ownerships for those top guys, right? You have it's a star-studded slate. You have Luka, you have KD, Harden, the three Lakers guys, Tatum. So like the stars in this middle game, I think, go overlooked, especially DeJounte Murray. James Johnson projected for the second best value. Okay, we'll see. If he plays 25 minutes, I think he's a good value. But will he play 25, or will he play 5 minutes in the first half? Last time I played him. Harden or Tatum. So I think Tatum looks a little more optimal. But if you want to get different, Harden should come in at much less ownership and still has a lot of upside. Harden's been playing better of late too. Like I think it would be a small lean for me to Harden over Durant. Malik Monk, in play for value, might be a little bit over-owned based on recent games. Still has upside, but the floor is still low. It's still low on him. Harden, Richardson, Luka, Tatum, Powell, Walker, McDermott, Rose. Whew. Yeah, stars and scrubs. I mean, it's in play. Some of those value plays, it's kind of like fingers crossed, right? Patreon. Sorry. It's in the link of the description. It should be. Cam Thomas, good value. He's viable. Like, as I said, I don't trust the minutes for any of these really secondary options in Brooklyn. He's a good scorer. Like, I played Cam Thomas in the Summer League. This guy is a scorer. Now, he's not going to do anything in the peripheral stats. So, like, he could play 20 minutes and go for 5 fantasy points like he kind of did here. Or he could also get 15 to 20 if he's hitting a shot. So, he's playable value. The positive there on a 3-game slate is I don't think Cam Thomas gets a lot of ownership. So, like, if you do play him and he gets hot behind the 3-point arc, then you're probably looking good. DeJounte or LeBron? It's a good question. LeBron's probably a little bit safer, but I kind of like DeJounte Murray in tournaments because I just think the ownership is going to be pretty low. Don't feel great about James Johnson, but I feel you almost need to play someone you don't feel great. Yeah, kind of, right? And like the thing with James Johnson is at that price, it's going to be hard for him to really kill you unless he just isn't in the rotation, which I don't expect. Like if James Johnson gets 20 to 25 minutes, he's probably going to get you a floor of like 12 to 15 fancy points. Would you play 2 studs like Harden and AD, Harden, Tatum, or AD and Tatum, or would you play 1 star and go more balanced? I think 2 stars is definitely viable. There's enough playable value on the slate. Nothing that is amazing. But yeah, you can definitely go 2 stars, or 1 star and balance is fine too. Like I don't think there's one build I prefer more than the other. Aldridge, I think a pretty safe play. I think he gets over 30 minutes. He's been a relatively productive guy so far this season, except when I play him. But yeah, I think Aldridge is a pretty good option. Coaches on the slate suck. Yeah, I like Aldridge. With the assumption that Time Lord is a great game, would you anticipate Dwight getting more run? Yeah, it's a good question. Probably not. I don't think Dwight closes. So like he played 21 minutes last game and he didn't close. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. I expect him to play his shift in the first quarter, probably get a little bit of run in the second quarter, play his 7-minute shift in the third quarter, and then not close. Because it's, the closing line for Lakers is going to be the big 3, probably plus a couple of those smaller guards. Lonnie Walker in play for value. Thoughts on, Schroeder, Smart, LeBron, Tatum, Pirtle, Rose, Lonnie, and Dwight. Okay, so you're basically putting all your chips in that last game, right? You're stacking it with Schroeder, Smart, Tatum, LeBron. It's definitely like suboptimal a little bit to just go like all in that game. But if the first two games blow out and that last game shoots out, you're looking in great shape. Single entry lineup, let's see, Harden, Rose, Barrett, Porzingis, Aldridge, Schroeder, It's contrarian. Again, Porzingis should be pretty low owned. That's the positive for him. Barrett, he's really been struggling shooting the ball, so he doesn't stand out. But like, there's a chance if he plays well, he plays 30-plus minutes. Playing lighter tonight, had a big night yesterday. Yeah, like this is not a slate where like I would go crazy. Like, I don't think there's a massive edge. I think it's a fun slate for tournaments, but like, do I think there's like a really big edge? I don't. If Noel starts, you like him today. I think he's a decent. Like, I think Noel will play 25 minutes or so. Not super productive, but he probably gets you like somewhere between 15 to 25 fantasy points, which is fine at his price. I like the Knicks guys for GB pace-up matchup. Yeah, again, like the Knicks guys are good tournament plays. There's no one outside of Randall I can confidently say is going to close because they're going to go the hot hand. But that group of like Barrett, Fournier, Rose, Quickly, and like maybe Toppin, I would, if I was building a lot of lineups, I would say like pick no more than like two of that group or something. How many dart throws is too many for this slate? You mean like just like super cheap plays? Like a viable build is the stars and scrubs because there's so many good stars in the slate. Now the value, you're not going to feel confident with a lot of options. Coach Pop said Spurs won't rest any players. Okay. Def getting popped tonight. Yeah, most likely. Most likely. Loves Robert Williams. He'll be pretty low owned. I don't hate trying to buy low on Robert Williams. It's a really good matchup here. And I don't think the ownership is going to be high because of recent games plus minutes. Like he played 21 minutes here against he got in foul trouble here. He got in foul trouble here against Utah and 15 minutes. So like, just scroll back a little bit. Like Robert Williams can still have a really good game. This is a big Lakers front court. So as a contrarian option, I think that he's a good play. Now, there's a chance he only plays like 20 minutes again, but if he plays well against a big Lakers front court, he could play 30-plus minutes and have a good game of low ownership. So I don't hate that call. Yeah, Brunson or Rose is a tough one. I think with Luka and Porzingis back, the upside is a little bit higher on Rose. Now, I think Rose is a little bit riskier because he could also play 22 minutes tonight. Like, I think Brunson plays 25 to 28 minutes off the bench and is a relatively safe play. He can still get there even with Luka and Porzingis. Whereas Rose, the range of outcomes are a little bit wider, right? He could play really bad, and Thibodeau can play him 20 minutes, or he could play really good. He could play 35 minutes, and he could break the slate. So, like, if you're just going for that upside, I think the upside is higher on Rose there. Johnson or Walker, the safer play probably is Johnson, but, like, neither I feel great about. I think the upside is higher on Lonnie. Like, I don't think James Johnson can really break this slate in, like, 25 minutes. Lonnie Walker in 25 minutes, he could shoot really well off the bench and go for, like, 30. So the upset's higher in Lonnie if that's what you're shooting for. Guys, we're at 40 likes, 150 concurrent viewers. Thanks, guys. I'll be live for a good another 5 minutes. So if you guys do enjoy the live streams, just make sure to hit the like button. Let's see. LMA or Pirtle. That one's pretty tough. I'll say Pirtle, but I like both. Monk or Bembry, last piece. I'll say Malik Monk, but both are risky for sure. KP, Pirtle, or Murray plus Dwight for GPP. So Porzingis and Pirtle or Murray and Dwight. It's a good question. I'm going to say the first one. I think Porzingis is going to be pretty low owned. I haven't seen anything of a minutes limit, but just keep an eye on that, right? He missed the last couple of games. I would think if there's no limit, he plays 30 to 32 minutes. LeBron James, James Johnson, or Murray Richardson for cash. The thing is, like, I think LeBron's a cash game play, and I think Jay Rich is a cash game play. I think Murray more of a tournament play, and James Johnson more of a tournament play. So, like, you kind of a mix of both. I guess I'll say the second because I think Josh Richardson's role is pretty secure off the bench. Murray because I'm a little bit more worried about James Johnson's minutes than I am Richardson. DeJounte or Randall? That's a pretty good question. I think Randall gets a little bit more ownership, so I think Murray's going to be pretty low owned. I think the optimal of those two is probably Randall. But I think Murray, again, comes in at lower ownership. And a 3-game slate, I think that's a positive. Safe to play Walker and McDermott? No. There's really no secondary Spurs that are safe. But McDermott should play mid-20s minutes. He's score independent, so he has a low floor. And Lonnie Walker does have upside. But as we said like a couple times now, when the Spurs had a few guys out, we all thought Lonnie would play more, and somehow he plays less. So neither you're going to feel great about, but they're two guys that are definitely in play on the slate. Appreciate the content, DK. Yeah, thanks, Bill. Really appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Murray, Walker, Tatum, Randall, Perlovich, and Top and Aldridge thoughts. Good tournament lineup. Thoughts on Smart and Schroeder. Like them both without Jaylen Brown. Both should play mid-30s minutes. I think Schroeder has a little bit more upside. Smart, a guy that can do more of the peripheral stats. But both look pretty good without Brown in an up-tempo game. Harden, Hardaway, Barrett, Melo, Aldridge, Schroeder, John. It's very contrarian. Is there anyone that you have? So I think Schroeder will be relatively high owned. Everyone else in your lineup is going to be low, I think. And Aldridge and Schroeder probably get a decent amount of ownership, but Harden should be pretty low. Hardaway going to be very low owned. Barrett going to be low. Melo going to be low. Keldon going to be low. Robert Williams going to be low. So it's a pretty contrarian lineup. Never play cash games. Yeah, on a small slate, I wouldn't. Especially in a slate where you have the Spurs secondary rotation a little bit up in the air, kind of the same thing with the Nets, whereas and the Knicks too, where it's they're going to go with the hot hand. So it's hard to trust teams like that in a cash game setting. Good luck, DK. Time to eat more tacos. Hey, man, enjoy. All right, guys, any last-minute questions? I can stay in front of a minute or two. Otherwise, I'll get out of here. Tatum, Murray, and Scrubs. I think it's decent. Yeah, I like it. Tatum should be low, or Tatum will be the chalk, I think. Murray, I think, will be pretty low. That's my guess. I could be wrong, but with all the stars on this slate, I don't think DeJounte Murray against the Knicks gets a lot of ownership. And we got news. Tom Thibodeau still said he's deciding on a starting lineup, so we'll just monitor that. All right, well, I'm going to call it on that, guys. So good luck tonight. Enjoy these games. And last question, is fading all the 10K plus guys a good strategy? I think it'll be a little bit contrarian. I don't think many people will do that, so kind of go a little bit more balanced. But, yeah, I think it's a fine contrarian approach on the slate. But, as I said, guys, I'm going to hop out of here. So good luck. Again, thanks for checking out the live stream, and I'll see you guys back here in the next one.